the cart tinkered through town with a gust of fresh wind at its back. The old donkey spotted the town first. His old hooves guided his weary soul to rest. The woman behind him trusted his animal ways, and the wind was dying, and the moon was to make an appearance tonight, so all of the signs pointed to stopping. The wooden cart was her small home on wheels and must have been constructed in a far, far earlier day than the present. Some woodworker chiseled and tinkered with the grains, etching twirls and swirls and crescents, her favorite detail. Little bits of the moon decorated her little wooden home, made by the hand of someone she never knew. In her early days, she stumbled across the cart in a forgotten trash pile behind an antique shop. She had been browsing along as she always was and spotted the wooden wheels overturned with grass and weeds. "How much for the wagon?" she asked. The shop owner laughed and said she could have it for free if she could get it off his property without destroying the overgrown roses. His grandmother had long ago planted those, and he had never been a gardener. Stories always work that way, my children, weaving people together like cobwebs. She went to work and gently pruned back the wildlife and extracted her cart from the rose bushes like a surgeon with a pair of scissors. She was left cut and full of thorns, but also happier than she had ever felt in her life. She coerced a nearby farmer to pull the wagon out of the ditch with his tractor, and she was only seen again many years later when the painted burgundy red cart on wooden wheels rolled off, oiled and painted and restored just like new. She liked sounds that jingled and twittered. In fact, she liked those light, dancing, musical sounds so much that she kept quite a few birds with her in that jingly cart to accompany her spirit and her ears with more light and musical notes. Her hands withered with age and never fully recovered from the battle with the rose bushes in her later youth. The story of how she acquired her donkey Brine will come at another day, child. For now, Brine has stopped in this tiny town, if you could even call it a town, for it only has a small, crumbling white church and a library made of sturdy brick. Brine eased to a lumbering walk and stopped right in the middle of the town square. She climbed down from her perch, the steps creaked with age, fed Brine a crisp carrot from her pocket, pat him right between the eyes, and went to work opening her shop for business. She had done this many times and would continue again and again. The wooden cart unfolded like a blossom, and an awning, a few chairs, and various tiny, sweet-sounding instruments and chimes tumbled out to the dirt floor in an effortless and rather noisy fashion. She hummed and twittered to herself softly as she moved the bird cages outside for fresh air and hung a few sheets out to the breeze. Even though it was still morning, she lit a few candles, tucked a dandelion behind her ear, and only when she felt ready did she begin to sing. Oh, child, mother has a story to tell, words to share from the sea and air to the dreamers and the doers. The moon is waiting, crescent fall, come one, come all. Mother has a story for you. First, the stray cats came ambling, and the dogs peeked their heads around corners, and then, of course, the children came skipping or running or hopping, whatever suited their little fancy, and a parent or teacher or two and some older folk, plenty of older folk, took their places gently, gingerly, and made their way to Allamaeda, following her strange voice and friendly tune and twittering companions and presents. For what else was there to do in this town besides go to church and read books? The children sat jaws ajar in the soft dirt, while the adults sat in chairs that she carried with her in her little turtle shell home. The children each held on to an instrument with a delicate sound. She whispered softly like a trickling stream. She always did, for her soul was strong and her words were only chimes in the breeze. The awning and wooden cart sheltered her audience from the sun. She took a deep breath and prepared herself to begin when a rude and alarming screech went off in the crowd. A young mother grabbed her hip with a look of horror sewn across her face as the small community looked in her direction. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." She stumbled, her face a deep flush of crimson as she ripped the phone out of her pocket and slapped a few buttons to silence the screeching sound. "I'm sorry," she said again, her face buried in her cellular device. "I need to take my son to soccer practice." She rose from her seat without eye contact, though the entire town was staring. She marched to the front of the aisle, grabbed a little boy by his shoulders, and picked him up as if he were a sack of potatoes, causing him to drop his little toy drum in the process, and rushed him down the street so fast that the town only heard one protesting cry before the sound of a car door slammed and the screech of brakes into the early afternoon. Allamaeda picked up the broken drum, dusted it off on her swirl of skirts, and in a sharp whisper asked, "Can everyone please turn off your cell phone?" Parent and child alike lit up with fluorescence, and various buzzes and beeps and twangs went off for a few moments before the crowd was actually quiet. She sighed, took a deep breath, and began to whisper.